Hi there. My name is Brandon Beattie, and I'm recording this video in Edinburgh, Scotland. But I'm actually Canadian, and I'm from the west coast of Canada, and I've lived on Vancouver Island for about a decade. I love that place. I love the west coast. I used to sail a lot up and down. I work a lot in northern British Columbia in reforestation work, and I would consider myself a native son of British Columbia. While I was living out there, and still today, I had a pretty large interest in the proposed Enbridge pipeline. People on the west coast were quite concerned with it and interested in it because, you know, these types of things, people aren't stupid. People who live in British Columbia on average tend to be maybe a slightly more environmentally concerned, and I think that's because the environment is so pervasive. I mean, the beauty of British Columbia and the west coast is, you know, hard to compare. It's hard to compare it to other places in the world. And people are aware that we have something fragile, and people know that, you know, bad things happen, such as oil spills, and this can result in amplified effects that last for generations. Companies that operate in the tar sands have to pay anywhere between 15 and 25% in revenue to the Canadian government. And that might seem like a lot, but it's actually not. It's not very much at all. If you compare Canada to Norway, it's peanuts. Norway has a state-owned oil company called Statoil, and every day Norway is able to bring to market about 2.3 million barrels of oil. Compare this to Canada, who currently is bringing 3.2 million barrels of oil a day. It's actually, you know, a significant amount less. Yet Norway rolls in about 40 billion worth of revenue a year. And Canada only announced 1.9 billion worth of revenue a year. And this is because of this free trade business that we have going on, which allows, you know, foreign companies to come in and do their business and walk away with all the profits. 1.9 billion versus 40 billion a year. Canada has a population of 33 million and arguably a larger infrastructure to maintain. I mean, no wonder the Canadian government wants to expand on the revenues that are generated annually from the tar sands. Makes sense. They want more money. Whatever. I understand that. It's just too bad that the deck's stacked against us, and comparatively, other countries who have significantly less in terms of resources have developed theirs right. There's a few things that any investor has to consider these days when investing in natural gas exploration or petroleum. One thing is, what does policy look like today, and how is it going to change in the future, and how is that change going to affect my return, the return on my money, or the potential that I don't get my money back. Canada doesn't have a carbon price. Alberta has kind of a joke carbon market, intensity-based carbon market, so it's hard to explain, but we don't have a carbon market right now, and we've positioned ourselves internationally as a voice against the development of a carbon market because of the tar sands, because we know that we wouldn't be able to meet targets. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But that doesn't mean it's not going to develop, and whether we like it or not, it is happening all around us. And Canada's going to be left out. Provinces are making great strides into actually addressing their carbon footprints, such as Quebec and Manitoba, and especially British Columbia. We have to consider the effect that's going to have on the potential to actually continue to expand the oil sands. What's going to happen? We're going to keep operating like dinosaurs, expanding the oil sands, getting that oil to market, and the market's going to change necessarily against us. And you know what? We're going to be left behind because we haven't pursued alternative forms of energy development. It's sad. It's very sad. So it's hard to hypothesize where we should be headed. Where we should be headed with the tar sands. Where we should be headed with other policy that controls the development and dictates the development of our natural resources, considering shareholders, stakeholders, etc. I think sustainability is something that's fundamentally not seen in our development policies. And I think we need to retool ownership and revalue what it actually means to have the tar sands on Canadian soil. And I think we need to refocus on what it is to be entrepreneurial and recognize that Canada has such a wealth, and there's no need for environmental devastation on the scale that is occurring in Alberta. And our economic kind of atmosphere, and even our conception of what work is really flawed, I think. And it all feeds into this system that allows for exploitation, on the scale that the tar sands is occurring. So I think that's all I'm going to say about it. And just to go over my points again, I was just focusing on the economic atmosphere in Canada and how it doesn't really serve our best interests. And I was focusing on the potential down the line for the carbon price to actually really become a strong factor in limiting the market of petroleum. And I hope that we can overcome this. I hope we can overcome this technological adolescence that we seem to be so happy to keep ourselves in. Thanks very much.